Hello, everyone. I'm Ronan Unchained, and welcome to Bottles and Bricks, a Last of Us podcast. I'm your host. I have with me here, Jarrell Alexandra. Jarrell, how you doing, man?
It's going. It's going.
Folks, just give me a heads up. We are going to be talking spoilers for HBO's The Last of Us, episode 3 of season 2. If you haven't seen the episode, please go watch it. There's a lot to dive into from perspective of the show and of the game. And we've both played the game, so we're just give you a heads up right now that we're talking spoilers. So experience it and then come back and hang out with us because there's lots to look into and see what changes they made, what they kept, and what they're alluding to now in past the murder and the loss of Joel Miller. Doing spoilers, tread lightly. All right, so Jarrell, it starts off with this. Just to close up on this after seeing the wreckage of Jackson Hole.
Yeah.
And you get this very beautiful, intimate moment between Tommy trying to wash over his brother's corpse. And he says a line that really hit home for me. And again, it goes back for a lot of us, not even just season 1, but just experiencing that killer opening, no pun intended, of the first game. With now Tommy just saying he's washing Joel's hand, and he bumps into his watch, and he just looks at Joel's corpse and he says, "Give Sarah my love," and just like, oh. So, what are your thoughts of the opening of episode 3?
Opening of episode 3. It was pretty depressing, that's for sure. It was definitely well done, particularly on a technical level, for sure. Seeing Tommy's reaction, and then the stuff with Ellie, which I guess we're about to get into before the opening credits, or really the moment with Ellie, I should say. But yeah, it's a strong, it's a very dour opener. It's hard to gush about it, but it means well done though.
Yeah. Kudos to Gabriel Luna, who I think you and I have both been like from the get go, he sounds like Tommy. He acts like Tommy, and he has this new layer to him now with the show of going deeper with his character. And again, shouts out to Gabriel Luna and what he was able to do with the dynamic between him and Pedro, and now how much weight is on his shoulders, how much I can't even imagine, regret, things he wish he could have done differently, things he probably wish he could have said. And I just wanted to give a moment for Gabriel Luna, just to have that moment, and again, you even sense this moment of rage. You see him just biting and swallowing this rage, which as gamers we know where that's gonna go. But yeah, and then I dare not even show the shot, but then we cut to Ellie in the hospital of Jackson. And she's bedridden, and she becomes conscious. And she's becoming conscious, she drops a tear on her head, and as she wakes up, she just starts screaming, wakes up yelling, screaming. Yeah. And it cuts to the first inclination of PTSD, where all she's not seeing the mania of Jackson Hole with all the wounded, the dead, and the mania in the hospital. She's just seeing the image of when Abby kills Joel, and how that's already a photographic memory now that's linked into her brain, and they have to seduce her. And then cuts to 3 months later. Were you as shocked as I was that they're already hinting at the PTSD?
I think I was more shocked by the flash forward, to be honest. Did it happen? Yeah. Did it happen like that in the game?
No, dude. Like, if my memory serves right, like
Because that confused the hell out of me. I was like, wait, what?
in the game, after Manny, or I forget the other douchebag who kicks Ellie unconscious, she wakes up to Dina saying, "I'm sorry," and then it cuts to
Yeah.
black, and then it just cuts to Ellie in her garage, just like in shock, just by herself. And then that's when Tommy comes knocking and like brings food, making sure that she's eating or not. So like maybe a day or two had passed, but um uh it was about maybe a few 24 hours, maybe a day or later, but it was no 3 months where they're finally bringing up the urge to go seek vengeance, or in this shows it's justice. So yeah, the 3 month span was a shocker to say the least, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say. I still have things to say about that I'm not even like sure about yet. We've been watching other episodes or further episodes, so I'm just gonna stop there. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. The moment where she wakes up like that, it's effective, but I don't know. It's funny, you and Sam are just like, like 9, 10 out of 10, 9, 10 out of 10. And like, I feel like I'm struggling with season 2 so
You're
far.
struggling to connect.
Um, sure, you can say that. You can say that. Sure.
Okay. um and so we get to the angle of Ellie, I guess, from the details was given, is that she was in bed in the hospital for 3 months, recuperating from the kick she got, um, and she's better now. And she's visited by Gail, the therapist who Joe was seeing, and she checks up on her because the last thing that Gail can recall is between her and Joe was the dance argument and fight of Joel standing up for her, and then her lashing out at Seth and Joel. And she's just checking on, like, was everything okay? Like, what happened? And her wanted to know. And even in his death, Ellie is still protecting Joel. Now I'd be like, no, that we're fine. I wish we could have done stuff more. I miss him. And like, I find that so fascinating that like even in death, um, Ellie won't give anybody the pleasure or relief of like, no, the connection we had in any bitterness, fallout argument, that's between us, and nobody else gets the squeak about it. Even at most, if you're lucky, either Tommy or Dina. But even then, it's it's just them two, which I thought that. And again, a lot of stuff, folks, was not in the game. A lot of stuff was not in the game, which I think for
Listen,
me enhances the experience.
I mean, like, what I like to call remixing was inevitable.
Yeah.
But there's some things, or I guess there's a few things, like the whole therapist angle. I'm not. It's not gelling right so far, which is interesting because it has garnered like a eyebrow raising performance before, but at the same time, it feels just I don't know. I feel like I know Joel and Ellie on a really deep level from loving them from the game or just in general, whatever. But God, what was I trying to say? The therapist, right?
Yes.
Um,
Catherine O'Hara. Yeah.
it just doesn't seem like something that they would do. That doesn't seem to fit the psyche of Ellie or Joel. I can't really imagine Joel or Ellie like for like without watching this season. If you were to be like, "Hey, what do you think about this therapist angle?" I'd be like, "That'd be dumb," because they just wouldn't do that. As much as I love these characters, they are particularly dark characters. I think that's what I was trying to say. So I don't think they would do that, in my personal opinion. Because you imagine like, I don't know, Heath Ledger's a Joker, like going to a therapist, you know what I'm saying? But he's not like in Arkham or something. You just be like, no, what? What are you talking about? This nigga's like evil. What do you mean? He's out of his mind. Like, no. I don't really think Joel is a good person still. I still feel pretty confident about that. He's like this. He's like this bad person that like you love, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating our connection with Joel because I don't see him as a bad person. He's done
Yeah,
bad things. Um, yeah, you know what? It's weird. I'm digging the whole psychology about it, like because I
like
feel
the
like
therapist angle. Do you really
yeah,
think they would do? They would do that though from the game? Well, fuck that. Do you think they would really do that? Whether we're talking the show or the game, I just don't know. I don't know that the guy who like executed all those people just to save her, when ironically those people could have been right for the record.
here's the
Um,
thing. The reason why I think he would um dare be inclined to try it out at the very least once was because okay, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna put it one more time for folks to know, okay? Because there's something I have to mention something in order to get for this angle. Super spoilers for the video game,
oh,
and it's something
I like that you got it on the screen. I
I
like that.
know. I'm pretty confident they might do this in the show, but it's not gonna be in the season. I'm pretty confident about that. But super spoilers for the game, okay? She's letting you know right now. Super spoilers for the game. Been warned.
Massive
Um,
spoilers.
I think because in the porch scene, he says, if somehow the Lord was to give me another chance at that moment, I would do it all over again. I feel like if he's even willing to bring up God and believe that therapy is not out of the realm of possibility, and the fact that it's been 5 years, um, I feel that like this is was plausible because in the game we're playing a game that's it's an action thriller and whatnot like, and again it's one of the people that who are like, wow, thank God the show is taking its time with Jackson, which I appreciate because I always thought like it would have been nice to spend more time in Jackson, but then again I wanted
Sure,
blood, I wanted to go after Abby.
sure.
um but you set up 5 years and you you see how much Ellie connected with Dina, with Tommy, with Jesse, with Maria, especially in the game. Kat was her first love, I think, at Jackson. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Um, it wouldn't. It was for me as not out of the realm possibility that they would be more. They would be connected in this community, and again, it's my perspective. Like the show is enhancing my experience because this feels like, all right, we're actually spending time with Jackson, and it feels like, oh yeah, they've been here for 5 years. It feels more lived in the game, more than the game, and but I completely understand your angle because it
It's
took me
just
a little bit to just.
Joel seems like the type of guy who, like, if somebody was gonna suggest therapy to, he'd be like, "Huh, maybe I'll think about it. Maybe tonight," and he walks off. But in reality, that night he just like gets drunk and like falls asleep against a tree or something like that. That's the kind of man that like Joel strikes me as. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't strike me as someone like. It's hard to use the word evil, but just a bad person.
I think that perspective, I could see it in the first 3 years of Jackson, maybe 2.5 years. I could see that. Nah, not for me. I
This
don't believe in this.
cold blooded killer.
Here's the thing. Yes, he's killed people in cold blood, but I can't denounce how much this guy cares about stuff and how I dare say he's probably the most emotional character in this franchise. Even though he has killed people, but he's probably the
100%.
most emotional. He's probably the most emotional character in this franchise, bar none. Ellie, who could be an equal to him, because I don't. I again, I don't believe how you can go living without letting some of that stuff out, some of the stuff in your mind for 5 years,
I
especially when you're trying to like balance out keeping your surrogate daughter with you and being a man of the community. And But then again, I remember we talked about this during season 1. At first, it felt odd how much Joel was talking to Ellie in the beginning of season 1, because I was so used to the game of being like, "This is how I'm gonna play out. You don't bring up Tess ever." As a matter of fact, let's keep our history to ourselves. Like, that was very much a thing in the game, which again, it's a contrast of gameplay and a show where you're like, in gameplay, you're building up the urge and the each level, each chapter, each city, you get more of a word, more of a sentence out of Joel, and that's how you build a bond and connection through gameplay, mechanics, and cinematics. Where it's like, and again, like you said, it's a remix. They had to recontextualize a little bit for the show, because it's a different performance, different medium, and yet the DNA is being paralleled and being honored as best as it can, but it can't be a one-to-one thing. And
I don't think it needs to be. It just seems against their personality traits for me. Personally, particularly Joel. I mean, maybe there's an argument there for Ellie. I don't see it, but for Joel, it's just like, wait, what? Definitely not buying that. But okay, his past is pretty mysterious, So,
well, that's why I love about Ellie's sarcasm. Was like, oh, maybe I can forgive him. Maybe I should get myself off the hook, and how Gail can know. Oh yeah, you're fucking lying to me. I'm like, all right, you won't open up to me. Oh well. And again, I don't think no one's dare to say, I'm like, God damn it. Besides Tommy in the first episode, it's like, God damn it, you and Joe are so like you may not be blood, but you are definitely father and daughter. As it and it's both in a beautiful and yet probably annoying way for all of Jackson to be like, oh, just like Joe, or oh, just like Ellie. Sure. And that's why I think Joe, out of all of them, because again, he's older, he has a lot more baggage, a lot more skeletons, a lot more scars he wears on his sleeves, that he eventually he would have, I even hate phrasing it this way, but crack and be like, I need to tell someone. I need to let some stuff out more than Ellie, because Ellie, I mean, you've seen in season 1 how she was just fascinated by violence and by physicality. Like, I'll never forget it when she cut that infected guy's like forehead and was like almost titillated by like, whoa, so this is what happens when you cut that up, and then kills it. She would probably be less inclined to talk to a therapist, probably more Dina and them. But yeah, I think that's something that we should talk about more as we get into the season, and when we have more guests, more fellow panelists, of like, where do we feel about the psychology of these characters in Jackson, Wyoming, because that's something that the show is a blessing, where it's like, God damn it, I care about Jackson more than I ever fucking cared about them. I was fascinated by them in the games, but I care about Jackson, and it's making me battle. It's making me think a lot of what my perspective was with the story of part 2 in the show than in the game. And I remember feeling like I might take the story better in the show than I did the game, because it was a bitch and a half and fucking annoying at points of like, oh, I spent $70 in this game and I want to throw the TV over the fucking window every 5-10 minutes because of where I'm at in the game. But someone I'm not going to dare to throw ever into a window unless he sides with Abby is Johnny Bravo 6. How you doing, Johnny?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good.
We were just talking. Are we watching that? Are we watching that tonight? What I just chatted to you?
No, I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Jesus Christ.
But Johnny, episode 3 dropped the morning, or I guess the title says it, The Path. Joel's gone. Jackson's hurt. We were talking about how that tragic scene with Tommy washing over his brother's body. You see the little hints of rage building up in Tommy that we've never seen before. Give Sarah my love. The opening with Ellie screaming, and the first inclinations of PTSD. How are you feeling?
I mean, that was another really, really heavy episode. Back-to-back weeks of just emotional damage. I think I was just thinking about it too. I literally actually just finished watching the episode for a second time 5 minutes ago with my parents. So it's fresh in my mind. But yeah, I think that's maybe the best cold open we've gotten in the show so far, at least in my opinion, just obviously because of the significance of what just happened and that the immediate aftermath of it. Love that moment with Tommy. Like I think Gabriel Luna said in the like behind the scenes thing, that was like a one man wake pretty much. So that was like a really just like emotional, sweet moment that was heartbreaking. And then yeah, when he says "Give Sarah my love," I lost it. Great stuff there. Him cleaning off his body, just yeah, really heartbreaking and tough. And yeah, you can, like you said, see the pain, the anger, like everything you can kind of see on Bella's face throughout the whole episode. You see Tommy go through all those emotions too, right in that one scene alone. So yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to see what they're gonna do with Tommy in the show. Obviously because they've changed certain things so far that I'm sure we're gonna get into later. And then yeah, again the cold open made me cry because then yeah with Ellie just screaming and the PTSD starting, like I lost it again. Like it's just such a painful scream, and then yeah, having a little flash of it happening again. Sorry, I had an alarm set. My bad.
So good.
Having the flashback of that happening again, and her just screaming in pain, obviously traumatizing the PTSD.
Yeah.
Having that be visualized so soon in the show, I think was a smart choice. Obviously, because that's not something we see till way, way, way later in the game. Even though it hits like a ton of bricks in the game, so I think for the game it works out better that way, probably. But for the show, I think it was great just to immediately just start off like, no, like she's there. that's where she's at mentally. So yeah, that cold open I think really hits you hard, because then after the cold open, we have like the setup, which is a little bit slower, and it's just setting everything up to get where we're supposed to go. So I really love that cold open a lot. Thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, and the next thing we're discussing is how it's 3 months later, and it's not, at least what I thought from the game, like the next day or 2 days afterwards, or at the very at most a week. Nope, it's 3 months later, and like rebuilding has started. It's Ellie's finally out of the hospital because apparently that kick really got to her and like punctured something, so she was in recovery. And me and Drew were discussing about the dynamic between, would Joe and Ellie ever go to a therapist because of what we were used to in the game. And Jarrell, I told Jarrell, like,
I definitely don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
I was telling Jarrell that like we both love Joel so much, and yet we see him differently. Like like Joel, Jarrell thinks Joel's a bad man who you love, but I'm like, I don't think he's a bad man. He's done bad things, and we were just going back and forth of like, would he have gone to therapy? And like, and I've always been the one of like, I think it's because of the 5-year time that you want to build out more the connection of the community and whatnot.
Yeah,
and I just wanted to see your thoughts on that scene and the perspective of the therapy. And for those who are commenting, I'll put the comments down afterwards. But yeah, I just want to get these thoughts out.
Well, that's a interesting question. I think video game Joel, no, absolutely not. No therapy. But obviously we saw with Pedro's performance, like, I thought we basically had a therapy scene in the first season when he's given that like monologue to Tommy where he's sitting there breaking down, which is like one of the best scenes of the entire show. I think that made me bawl like a baby. Pedro's fucking unbelievable in that scene.
I know I've lost something.
Yeah, like, dude, oh my god, that scene every time gets me. Like that alone was just like, you should have handed Pedro an Emmy just for that scene alone. Like, so. Shoal, Joel, Shoal, yeah, for Shoal, yeah. It makes sense that he goes to therapy. I can see that a lot because they really amped up the more broken side of Joel, the more like realistic interpretation of Joel is the show. Where like in the video game, you are that just grizzled badass that's just like, fuck it, like I'm just doing what I gotta do, and that's really it. And he probably does a lot of very serious compartmentalizing of everything that happens, and you get moments of breakthrough in the game for sure. I don't want to completely say that he was like an emotionless just like wall, but he was a little bit more cold in the game, where he was just like, like
Oh, no,
it is what it is.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I think like video game Joel is a little bit more not emotionless, but a little bit more stern and just like, I'm doing what I have to do, and that's the way it is. We're like
More reserved. Yeah.
more reserved. Yeah, we're like, you could tell like the Joel in the show is just like, no, like I've done a lot of fucked up things. I've been through a lot of fucked up things. I'm a fucked up person, and I deal with it pretty much. Like that's why I love how like last week I was talking about how I love that scene with Joel or with Tommy and Ellie after Joel in her room. We kind of got a version of that in this episode at the stable, and I like how they did that whole thing of like, oh well, if it happened to you, Joel would be halfway there by now. And they changed it for the show where like, no, it was like if I was alive, Tommy would come save me. But if I was dead and we lost a bunch of people, he would blame himself and be like all broken about it pretty much. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly spot on. We're like in the game, when Tommy said that, I was like, Ellie, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Of course Joel would be halfway there right now. He'd be murdering everybody to get to you. So I like how they kind of changed that too, because I think show Joel and game Joel are very different in nature, but like at the core they're the same character. I think it's just two different interpretations of the same character. So for the show, yeah, I definitely see Joel going to therapy and doing exactly what he did, where like even though he's going to therapy, he doesn't let Gail in. You see that brick wall come up, like that's why that scene is amazing, where he's sitting there crying, thinks about it for a second, and then you just see the face change. He just drops like, nope, I saved her. That's it. Yeah. And just walks out. Like that was very video game Joel-esque to me. So, but video game and show Ellie, I don't think she's going to therapy either way. I think that scene in the hospital when she wakes up is exactly how Ellie would be in the game or show.
Yeah. And I think I told Joel that like I was like, you know what? I think at the very least, I think this year or I guess it's New Year's now, but like the year prior must have been the first time that like Joel tried it and was like at a distance, like, all right, we'll try it every month or every week. Like there's no way he would have started, in my opinion, there's no way he would have started, year 1, year 2 in Jackson. Like that would have been like, I think Joel said it, he would have just, be like, I'll think about it. Just grab a bottle of whiskey and be like, I'm good now. And it's just like, savor that for later.
Pretty much. I think because, at least in my head, the way I took it was like once the problems with Ellie start, that's when I would assume the therapy would start. Because like Ellie, in a way, I think was like, that was his person that he would talk to, and just, they just, he like, Gail says in this episode too, like the only person that Ellie was probably ever honest to was Joel. So I think they had that, and then once that wedge gets put in between them, I think that's probably when Joel's like, okay, like I need someone to at least kind of vent to, so I'll go see Gail. And I think that's at least like how I would imagine it would happen in my head.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to track everything. All right. So Ellie gets out of the hospital. Gail can see through the bullshit, and she's like, okay, shit, this one is just like Joel. It's going to take time, and hopefully she knows that I'm here, and she can let some stuff out if she wants to. And then we get to this moment, and I was like, God damn it. I was like, fucking A, man. And we go through the house, and we see hints at like, oh, so this was her room, and she took out the bed. And then we go upstairs, and there's his little office with the owl, which I was just like, oh, I remember we'd be like, where's the coffee mug? Where's the coffee mug?
Yeah.
And then you see his bed, and again, just the watch and the revolver. And I remember I loved hearing the podcast of like how Ellie sees the watch
Yeah.
and like grabs it and then like puts it away because she knows like that meant a lot to Joe about Sarah, but for her, what means a lot about her for Joe is that she moves that and picks with the gun.
Yeah.
Because they have a connection through violence,
Mm-hmm.
which is beautifully tragic in my opinion. Hearing that perspective, and then again, it's like these fuckers, want me to suffer even in mourning. It's just like she turns around and the beautiful lighting of just the closet, and you see the jacket, and you're like, oh my gosh. And Bella, man, just letting it out, just sniffing the jacket, the crying, and yeah, man, it's a rare thing when you love a piece of art like these characters and you get to experience something that you went through 5 years ago again, and almost either in a more deeper or more sadder way, and it's just so brutal. And kudos to the set designers, kudos to the costume designers, because I felt that jacket smell. I felt all of that. What did you guys think about that scene of her walking in and again just starting off with the mailbox and you see all the flowers and the letters of like what Joe meant to the community?
Yeah, it's I think it was a pretty strong scene. I mean, like she finds the box with the gun, and she like sort of just walks and sits around and goes through its clothes. It's an interesting way of showcasing her grieving visually, for the show. So I thought it was again depressing, but effective, at least in this like non-verbal scene before Dina shows up.
Yeah. What about you, Johnny?
Man, that level in the game always just absolutely destroyed me. Because I mean, not to get too personal for a minute, but like my grandfather died in 2018, so the game came out in 2020. It was a couple years after, so that whole grieving process was still like on my mind. And I remember when he passed away, like going through his room, and we're all like gathering stuff, and like you just find those little things of like that, just like were like his signature things. Like Joel's signature thing was the watch and the gun. Like on my desk, I have his pocket knife. He always like he always had like his little pocket knife with him. And then the one thing that I and my mom would always do, he had that signature cologne that he would always wear, so he would like smell his shirts, and it would be the same thing. So I remember when I got to that point in the game, I actually cried harder at Ellie sniffing his jacket than like him dying, because that just hit home for me. I was like, that is exactly what I did when I was grieving my grandfather. So to see grief just portrayed in such a realistic, devastating, and heartbreaking way just really resonated with me, and that even made me more like an Ellie. She's like, oh, I'm ready to fucking kill all these fucking. Like, I was like, I'm ready to fucking go. I was like, I was like, yeah, grab that fucking revolver. We're out. Like we're riding the sunset. We're out. I was like, we're going.
Go. Yeah.
So seeing that again, I was just like, yeah, like Bella just killed this whole episode, and that was another scene of just like, dude, oh my god. And then same thing of like her crying and then having to like kind of like collect herself when Dina comes in and like take a second before she goes downstairs. The only nitpicks I have, and I know I'm gonna have little nitpicks just because I'm a fucking nerd with the game, I wish we saw on his like little dresser the picture that had him and Sarah and then him and Ellie. That would have even leveled me even more. And then, yeah, I was waiting for the owl coffee cup the whole time. I was like, can we just like stop in the kitchen for a second? And I was like, oh, and I want to go in the living room and I want to find a little T-Rex pamphlet and stuff. I was like thinking about all those little things. But the one thing, if I could have added to that scene, I would have added the owl coffee mug, which, maybe we'll see another time. Or I definitely would have wanted to have seen the picture of like Sarah and Joel, and then Ellie and Joel on the like nightstand or dresser. I think it was dresser. But yeah,
with the horse. Yeah.
Oh my god, that would have been just even more painful. But I think that would have really been another just like, oh my god, like it would have been a couple gut punches back to back. But I think that would have been a nice little moment to have. But again, that's me being a nerd about the video game. Otherwise, they hit all the major beats that need to hit in the house. Like, yeah, you see his like sculptures and stuff that he does. You see the box that's waiting on the bed, like in the game with the watch and the revolver. Like, you got all the big points. I think it was a great scene. It fucked me up. I cried a few times during this episode. The beginning and this were like two of them, and there was like another one or two I think later on. But yeah, that was another really strong moment I think. And then the conversation with Dina after I thought was amazing too.
Yeah.
I almost wish we had even more time, like an extended cut of her exploring the house, because doing that in the game or seeing like Ellie, I think when she answers the door, I think it's Jesse who's at the door, but when she's in her room, just like that panning around and looking at everything on the walls and all the different posters. I think in the show she had like a Matrix poster, the Matrix poster, if I'm not mistaken, and I was so happy about that. That's my favorite film. But yeah, I almost wish we had more. There's something really visceral about that in the game. Seeing how detailed their rooms were, seeing these like inanimate objects that are saying so much, but like literally nothing. You know.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I like when we got to that point, I started crying again in the game.
Oh yeah.
And I remember being like, I'm gonna spend the whole hour in this house, just like I don't care if I don't move the controller. I just want to just sit here for an hour. Like Joel deserves that out of me. Just like, all right, for an hour of me trying to avoid spoilers for that time, I'm like, no, an hour, we'll mourn for you, Joel. Like no matter what. And so like I was looking at everything, and I'm like, you see all the cowboy paintings, and you're like, oh, Texas,
man, yeah.
like, and yeah, those photos of like. You see him and Tommy, and I think at one point you have like a like dinner photo of them. It might have been a Christmas and whatnot, and you're like, oh, I wish I could have been there. And like, yeah, it's yeah, and
it's heavy.
And again, double punch to HBO and this team because you casted Pedro, who right now is like everybody loves Pedro.
Yeah,
and
he's
like,
the guy.
Yeah. So it's just like, well. That scene worked. You got it to work. We got a couple comments from a few hours ago. So thank you so much to all these comments who put them out a few hours ago. We got T. O'Neill saying, I like what the show did again by switching what the gamer knows happened in favor of the TV series. That's a blessing, I think, for like a good adaptation. Is like, all right, some people might know more than fresh eyes, but we have to also keep a surprise even for them to get experience out of this show instead of being like, oh, it's that. Even though I do that a lot, but I'm like, again, we'll get to it later. But the baseball scene between Tommy and Gail, I was like, woof.
Yeah,
there's some bars, some lines in there that like put that in a fucking t-shirt. So I agree with that notion. Because remember, it's Tommy who sets out after Abby first her crew with Ellie and Dina playing catch up. Yep, that was in the game. And then wait, I remember the little fuck. Yep, it was all swapped. Yeah, and I think for an adaptation, I appreciate it. Where I'm like, all right, it weighs on Dina more now because, like she says, I love them too.
Yeah, I think that was a really smart choice because like you don't need Tommy's invested. That's his brother. So I think swapping roles with Dina and Tommy does a lot for the story overall. So I think that's a fantastic change. And then, yeah, just speaking about adaptations real quick, like I really like knowing where the general big beats of the story is going to go, but being surprised on how we get there. I think that's like the perfect way to do it because you're not changing the big beats of the story. You're just changing how we get there. And like the little moments like that are surprising enough for me where like as a fan I feel fulfilled and also like you're not like fucking me over. Look, I don't know how else to say it besides that. Like you're not messing with my baby. Like you're keeping everything the same, but you're just adding little bits and pieces that change things up and make sense for the adaptation so far.
Yeah. I think T says that as well, that I'm liking the changes to make the fallout for Ellie even worse because of how relaxed she's being right now. And I'm so happy that Dina's there to be like, okay, what's the plan? Or like, what are you gonna do? What route are you gonna take?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a comment that I'll come back to, and yeah, sneak off, switch up. Time as the entire town look after that, still rebuilding its defend buildings damaged by the horde in episode 2. Yep. The voice of reason and logic aftermath episode 2, whereas Ellie's still a wild card of trouble. Again, trying to say what I'm saying. The framing of Sunday episode versus the game, while not spoiling anything. Yeah, and also Cameron Walker. Hey everybody, hey Cameron Walker.
So
yeah, again, like to me, this is another like monumental moment of like building friendship dynamics before potential hints of love and connection. It almost reminds me a little bit of what they were doing with Adam Eve and Invincible, where like they built up first they were friends, and then they were like, maybe we like each other. So I like that they were willing to spend that time of like building the bond of like, okay, voice of reason, wild card, and yet they both love each other or like each other for that dynamic of like, I thank God you're part of my life because I would have been reckless, or thank God that you're that fire because someone needs to do the push to do this, set this stuff in motion. So I appreciate that the scene occurred, and again, initially it was sad hearing like you let them get away, that you lost his time, and again, to me, I think we've been saying that Isabella is probably right now the MVP thus far of like adapting the character, taking what Shannon Woodward brought to that role and running with it, and saying, like, I love you, but you're gonna break an ankle. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do this. And again, even bringing the cookie stuff. I'm like, I'm bringing you the cookies. Oh, just because? Like, no, because you're gonna be pissed at me, and this is a peace offering.
Yeah.
Her drawing the wolf and the yellow. I was just like, I remember watching the first time and just being like, I felt like that scene in Commando with Schwarzenegger just shooting up the knife, grenades, and everything. I was like, you want me to play that game again? You want me to go through Seattle and just hunt down infected or not infected again? Like, oh, you show. And Ellie saying, what was her name again? Abby. Just like,
yeah. I thought that scene was phenomenal. I mean, because like in the game, it's a good scene, but I remember like the parts like when Maria leaves and it is just like Ellie sitting there like kind of just looking. That's why I remember more than like the actual like, I mean, it's a good scene, but like, I don't know, here it really hit a lot harder for me. I think again, because having Dina go through that experience with Joel, having Dina and Joel having a relationship. And then, yeah, I mean, like one of my flaws with The Last of Us Part 2, because I say it all the time, I think it's another 10 out of 10. It's a flawed masterpiece. But one thing I always criticize about that game was like, the new characters to me felt a lot like really rushed at times, or like they give you what you need and they kind of just keep pushing the story on and on and on. And I really like that we're fleshing out Dina's relationships a little bit more. And like, because Dina and Ellie, they're friends, but they instantly kind of become like girlfriends. Where like in this, you're kind of like feeling like you're watching the slow build. Like, I don't know. I think like you said, I think so far Isabella has been like the MVP of like the new cast for sure. I mean, I really like Gail a lot as an original character. I think she's fucking great, but Isabella's been like really like impressing me a lot. Like I love Dina. Where like in the game, I really like Dina. I thought she was cool, but like I love Dina in the show. I think she's awesome. So that's a big upgrade. And I think I also like Jesse so far better in the show too, because Jesse was he kind of just pops up in the game sometimes. He's a cool dude and I like him, but I feel like we're getting a lot more character from him in the show. Like they're really expanding on these new characters in ways the game necessarily didn't enough for me. And yeah, Isabella of this episode, well, I don't know, Bella, they're both co-MVPs. I'm not going to start doing that, but like Isabella's been fantastic. And that scene was amazing. Just so good.
I will say maybe a spicy take, just a little spicy, but I think Isabella's portrayal as Dina is better or sharper than Bella's portrayal of Ellie for me personally.
Ooh.
I feel like there's so many things in this episode and future events that if it wasn't for Isabella, they would fall flat, in my opinion. I feel like her portrayal, at least, is very strong. Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily agree, but I understand just because I like show Dina more than game Dina, where I don't think I like show Ellie more than video game Ellie, but we also, I don't want to say that until we see everything play out because Ellie obviously is a lot more of a Bella's got a lot on her shoulders right now, so the jury's out on that. I'm not gonna start doing that yet because that's way too soon. Like the jury's out on that.
I'm just talking about like the quality of the performances, like the execution of the performances. I feel like Isabella just is Dina, even if they execute her character amongst the plot like wrong or something. Her portrayal was like exacting. I felt I was like, Jesus Christ, that's exactly who I remember from the game. But it's somehow just real. It kind of breaks my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's not necessarily like I see what you're saying, but not necessarily in like a likability type of way. Just like who's being more authentic to the video game character
for you.
And it just for me for sure. It does feel like Isabella's more accurate, I suppose.
I could see that too because I think it might have been like during the Real Rejects reaction. I think I was watching actually where they said like Bella's portrayal of Ellie is definitely different than Part 2 Ellie because I forgot who said it, but someone was like Ellie in Part 2 feels like a different character than Ellie in Part 1. Like current day Ellie, where in the show you're kind of getting a little bit of a mix where like you've got parts where she is that really cold, just like murderous rampage Ellie so far. You get little hints of it. I think we're gonna get a lot more of it, obviously, but there's also the little bit in there that's still like classic Ellie. Like she's still a smart ass. She's still making her little jokes and stuff. Because even like when Ellie's joking in Part 2, it's not the same as Part 1. It's a lot more dry, a lot more sarcastic. So I definitely I understand that for sure. Like this version of Ellie isn't as cold and just like I think they really sold the whole like Ellie is becoming Joel in the way because like her personality is not as much happy-go-lucky fun like no, I'm here to fucking execute my mission right now and that's really it. So I see that for sure too.
I think video game Ellie was like a pretty cozy person, and then golf club, and there's like a quite literally like a switch, which is interesting. Whereas the show version is more like I'm like hiding behind this mask of like snarkiness.
It's like they're slowly trying to get you there because they want you. And again, people have been saying about the looks and whatnot, which for anybody who's going after Bella for her looks and stuff like that, chingan su madre. That's, don't go about it that way. Like, that's ridiculous. No. Like, that's just a matter of fact. That's what it is. We have to deal with it. And hopefully, and I'm confident that Bella will give us a performance that, like, even if she's smaller or she's not as tall as Part 2 Ellie, that will still feel that way, which I think that's what they're leaning in more. They're like, look, she looks like Ellie from season 1, but she's going to do stuff that is not like season 1 Ellie or the girl that you fell in love and wanted to protect in season 1. And I think they're trying to like play with that angle. Like she may look like that innocent girl, but she's much like Gail said, like she and Joel walked in parallels. Like they complemented each other. Cameron Walker says that I had mixed opinions about Last of Part 2. Cameron, 5 years later, I'm still mixed on it. Like when I got remastered, I was like, am I really gonna be paid these people fucking another time for a game that I'm mixed on? And like I think much like Joel says, or as Ellie implies, does time heal wounds? I think that in time, I accepted this was the choice, the story they would have gone. Though I'm still mixed on stuff because they wanted to lean in the whole two sides of the same coin thing, which I couldn't read a mile away. But it's their game. I have to respect that choice, and I can't deny that they in part two has probably my favorite moment of the franchise, which I'm trying to subtly allude to. But I get where you're coming from. It's a piece of art, but not all pieces of art make you happy or make you want to revisit it from time to time often. There's a scene in the game that we pushed from TV episode this week, and it'll be consequence of what Seth does, and we know what the conversation is going to be. Okay, Teague, hold on to that because I have a lot to say about Seth because I was shocked of like where the fuck they went with that. I was like,
and that's what I was saying about like keeping it Big Beast the same, but how we get there. Wow, I was not expecting that at all. That was a great surprise.
Yeah, and true, Dina comes off as more mature between her and Ellie. Yeah, I think that's a blessing that I don't think even Ellie can comprehend. Of like, you have the biggest crush on probably the hottest chick in Jackson, and you're lucky that like she thinks about her first step that she takes, and which is why I think Joel dug Dina as Ellie's friend because she's like, okay, if I can't reach Ellie, at least Dina will reach her, and I can even have a conversation with Dina about said stuff and whatnot. But yeah, Ellie and Dina come to that truce of like, all right, we're gonna do this, but they talked to Tommy, as Gianni said. Tommy said, we gotta do this with the council. Remember, we're a democratic place. We're still rebuilding. And Tommy's like, come here. And that hug said so much because I remember I've received that hug from my uncle so many times, and I know what that feels like. And before we get to the council stuff, if my timing's right, we get the first hint of wait, do you guys hear them?
Yeah.
The whistles.
Oh,
we get, for those who the uninitiated, these are the Seraphites, which is a whole nother angle, a whole nother lore, a whole nother addition to the franchise of The Last of Us. How did you guys feel about seeing that? Because I was like, episode 3 already.
Look. I mean, I love the game, but for some reason, I was just like, this is not the time. I said before, like, or at least these were sort of the moments I was talking about, kind of weirdly reminded me of The Walking Dead. I just felt just a touch too soon, just a little bit, just tiny bit. First off, especially if I had never played the game, I just would have been like my nigga, I don't give 3 fucks about these brand new ass people. Okay, I am in shock. I am in trauma. I am not okay, and this sad ass story is not making it any better. I'm sure that's what I'd be thinking if I hadn't played the game. The reaction would be worse if I hadn't played the game. So I just feel like it's just touched too soon, just a little bit. But I mean, that aside, like, it was cool to like nerd out about it, of course. From like it's like a weird like Easter egg in a way, even though they're gonna be, well, maybe I shouldn't say that, yeah, but yeah, it's just like a weird Easter egg in a way.
The hammer, man, that hammer was done. I was like, ooh, that's a deep marketing, not even game marketing cut, like
that poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Johnny?
I remember I was just sitting there like. I was like sinking into my couch, like, dude, the fucking depression I'm feeling right now is just so heavy. And then when I saw us cut to that green ass forest and you see the little like Seattle thing on the sign, and I did like that meme on Twitter, it was like, you sit up in your chair and like when you're in the movie theater, I instantly shot up and I was like, no way. I was like, wait. I was like, are we about to see the Seraphites? Or like, are we going to see like, I was like, are we doing like a perspective change? Like, what's happening? And then, yeah, you see the boots and like I was like, oh my god, we're introducing the Seraphites. Holy shit. And then I personally loved it. I thought it was really cool. Because at first when they first popped up, I was like, wait, why are it kind of saying this? Like, why are we doing this now?
Right.
I was like, this is really fucking cool. But I was like, why are we doing this right now? I was like, it felt like a weird cut.
Exactly.
But then when we get to the end of the episode, I was like, you know what? That actually, I think, is genius. I think that's a really great way of kind of like almost
Groundwork.
Yeah, you're laying the groundwork. You're setting up Seattle before we even get there. So like I don't know if I want to talk about that too much because if we're saving that whole scene for like the end when we get to that part. But for just seeing them at first, I was kind of like Jarrell, where I was like, okay, I was excited, but then at first I was like, wait, but why? I was like, why now?
Right.
Why are we seeing them right now?
Because especially when we get to them shots of Seattle at the end, I think my socks almost just blew off. You know,
Yeah,
it looked incredible, dog.
oh yeah,
what
amazing.
fuck?
So
Yeah.
at first I was shocked that we're doing that, and then when we cut back to Jackson, I was like, oh, okay, sure, we're back. All right. Like it threw me off for a second. I had to adjust again, but like, yeah, that's all I'll say about it right now. I was very, very excited, but at first I was like, okay, interesting. We're seeing them now when we haven't even had the vote of if we're going to Seattle yet. I was like, but interesting. And yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, and I think it was Busy who said it in our watch party of like, wow, they're making them more human. Like they're giving this like humanity where I'm like,
I love that.
You're trying to show this angle, but then like just remember the scene and then talk to us when you hang out more with the Seraphites because it's a whole other experience.
That's a really good thing too. Is like I've really been interested in how they're introducing the new faction so far. Because like, first episode, you meet Abby and her crew. We're killing Joel. That's our goal. And then you go see them kill Joel.
Fuck. Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, okay, they're fucking yeah. And then we're introducing the Seraphites this way for I'm not gonna say anything because we haven't gotten anything else from the show yet. But like from knowing how they were introduced in the game and even in the marketing for the game, also since we're talking about the marketing a lot, where the first time we see them, you're like, whoa, okay, that's fucking nuts. All right. So
in a gameplay trailer.
in a gameplay trailer. So I was like, interesting that we're seeing this side first. I think it'll be good in the long run. So when you get to that later on, you're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I just saw this dad and cute little girl, and now what the fuck are they doing? Like, what is happening? So I think that's going to be nuts. And I think they're really doing like perspective. Like, they're really leaning into that, which I mean, they already leaned into it in the game, but like, they're really leaning into it in the show of like, two sides of the same coin. Like everybody does fucked up stuff. Everybody has the humanity that grounds them, but everybody does bad shit. It's The Last of Us. There's no good guys. So I think it's been very interesting to see how they introduce the new characters and new factions so far, as opposed to the game where a lot of the times you don't really get an introduction. It's like, here they are, motherfucker. Here they are. So I think it's pretty interesting that we're getting introduced to people this way, this perspective. Yeah, I really like it. I do. It was jarring the first time that they popped up, but
And before we get to the council moment, a couple people saying that, remember Abby, we don't kill those who defend themselves. Cough, your wolf teammates want to say, well, again, just stay tuned because perspectives is going to be a key word in this story.
And I mean, if you want to be technically fair, they did have weapons, so they could defend themselves, but that doesn't make what they did any less fucked up. But again,
it's the knife to gunfight thing. Yeah.
We'll see the perspectives too, because we'll see. I gotta watch what I say.
Cameron Walker says, I always felt bad for Jeffrey as Isaac in the game because he was underused. Gianni has been chanting this since I met him, and we knew we were Last of fans. And all I'm gonna say, folks, is just stay tuned because I think Naughty Dog learned their lesson, and Craig Mason was like, I think Craig Mason was like, watch this.
Because I remember like being pissed off in the game that you don't really get much of Isaac after all the build up for him. Then I watched the Batman and the name Jeffrey Wright. When I was looking at the cast, like, wait, Jeffrey Wright, where have I heard that before? And then I looked up his IMDb. I was like, The Last of Us Part 2, Isaac. And then I was like, they got this fucking guy to be Isaac, and then they didn't really use him in the game. So that made me even more upset after. So yeah, when I saw he got cast again in the show, that just made, I was so excited. And then, you know, again, we're jumping ahead, but seeing the preview for next week's episode, I was like, yes.
Yes.
Like, just yes. Thank God. I was like, fucking yes. So yeah, I completely agree. I cannot wait for some Jeffrey Wright.
Before the council, Jesse is giving Ellie a little, little boxing a session where she lets out some steam, and there's this great banter between friends, and how you get the Captain Wyoming, as Dina calls him, who's very much about like, we gotta follow the rules and whatnot, but like it also shows you how loyal he is, that even though he's got to follow the rules and he's on the council now, he's willing to help out his friend and give her some advice of like, yo, practice what you want to say, write it down. He's like, why? Because and again, it annoys me as like an older brother, if you will, but I love it because it's what Ellie would say or act, like, oh, because I'm stupid. Like, no, because you're angry, and nobody votes or follows anger, and it's just like,
yeah.
Captain Wyoming. It's just like,
Jesse's fucking awesome, man.
Really shout out to young Mazino, man. Shout out to young Mazino, and
he is killing it.
Just taking the ball and going with it. What's done in the games. But we get to the council. We get Uncle Tommy, Aunt Maria on the council trying to hear everybody, and it bugged me because again, I'm so used to the game of like, I want blood. Let's go get him. Everybody that talked, minus the corn guy. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. He's, hey, man.
I just thought that was funny. I was like, that's a good little comedic break that I needed.
Yeah. Everybody
was just like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Corn. Like, everyone there was like, dude, no one gives a fuck. Like, that would have been funny if Seth's like, oh, just shut the fuck up. Like, how like, Joel, just shut the fuck up. Like, just stop.
For real. This whole council meeting thing, like, I mean, it's another one of those things. Like the previous scene with Jesse and Ellie, I thought like completely trumped this council meeting. It just felt again kind of just weirdly reminded me of like moments from The Walking Dead, bizarrely. Which is a weird thing to think about, but yeah, I wasn't crazy about those things. Not gonna lie to you, wasn't crazy.
That's fair. Yeah, again, it's just the way we see Jackson, and where I'm like, oh, this again, and again, what they're doing is they're doing like at the very minimum two different things. They're filling out Jackson and showing you more time with the community, and yet they're dropping already themes and concepts and ideas of what they're going to be tackling in this story, not this season. This story. So it's gonna be this season, next season, and who knows if it's gonna be up to season 4, where like the concept of like, not yet, my heart goes out to you, and then even the dude, I forget his name, but he's a great actor who's always in a lot of stuff. But he's like, forgive and be forgiven. That's what separates us from them and whatnot. And then I wish I could have found the image, but then Seth being like, bullshit. and again, the fact that they lined him up right next to Ellie, and they were just like, yo, I remember being like, fuck you.
Yeah, they set up the tension, like, oh god, what the fuck is he gonna say? Like, oh no, what's he gonna do now?
Bigot sandwich is on our side? What the fuck? I didn't see this in my bingo card. And again, it's what I think what Craig Mazin has done in HBO, and I think what The Last of Us was again, it's up to people's perspective, like what they did it or they tried doing it in part 2. It was like perspective of, your enemy, of like, there's that great line. I forget who said it. I just heard Obama say once that you don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. And, I think it must have been like a whiplash of emotions for Ellie to hear that like fucking bigot sandwich called me a dyke the other day, but now he has my back. And it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck is happening right now? And we make the way to the council, and Ellie takes, Jesse's offering, his suggestion. And yet the way I even like I in seeing it and seeing Gail up on the porch, like listening to it and the podcast is saying like it was a good attempt, but it was filled with lies. Like that was lies all around of what she wanted. And the fact that it was sad to see Dina's like look on Ellie as they were counting down the votes is like only 3 people voted to go to Seattle, and everybody else was just like no.
Yeah.
And again, before that, even when Tommy, offered Ellie, if you want to go visit him, we buried our dead 10 miles. She's like, before we go to Seattle, I'll go visit him. Yeah. Again, it's sad that like, nope, no help. This is not no go. No militia's going to go after them. And again, kudos to the team of like shocking me that like Seth of all people would back Ellie up, and what those 3 months must have been for him of like the last time I saw Joel, he shoved me down the floor for saying something stupid, drunk, and something I said, something stupid I said, something I probably not probably something I shouldn't have been thinking, and like imagining now what he has to feel about like I have to do something right by him through her, and now it's tougher on her because I directly, insulted her and her friend. Like, it's a fascinating really dynamic.
Interesting. And then I liked in the behind the scenes too. Neil said like, sometimes that people that you feel like you're not aligned with will surprise you and be like, no, I can think this way about maybe you or something you've done, but I can still care for you and understand like what's going on and like feel bad for you. So I think they found it because Seth is really just like a one-note character in the game. He's just there to basically insult Ellie and Dina, give them their biggest sandwiches, and that's pretty much it. So I think it's really interesting that they chose to give him some depth. Like, I was the last thing I was expecting. I didn't think we were going to see him again in the entire season, really, unless it's maybe just in passing, like he's fucking walking down the street and just like glares at Ellie or something, like, like I didn't really think we'd see him again. So for him to be the one that's really standing up for Ellie in front of the whole town, since Tommy can't do anything because he has to be diplomatic, like I thought that was very like just a really powerful like oh shit moment, like a genuine surprise where I was like, wow, I can't believe they did that. I really like that whole scene as a whole, just because you always get the sense, obviously, that Tommy and Maria are running stuff in the game, like they let you know that's how it is, but I really like how fleshed out they've been doing. Like, no, there's a council, they hold meetings, they do votes, and getting to see all of that to me has been really, really cool. And just even seeing how they include the town in it too. Like, it's not always just the council making the decisions. They let everybody speak their piece, but the council makes the choice. So I really liked seeing all of that. I love that moment for Seth and everything else that happens. And then I think it's a good moment for Ellie where she has to try to basically bullshit the council into getting people to help her out. And I really like Gail being there to kind of look at her and be like, you're fucking lying. I just thought the whole scene was really, really good. I enjoy seeing the inner workings of Jackson a lot. I think that's been one of the biggest strengths of this season so far, is like, this is how Jackson works. This is how they operate. Like, this is what Tommy does. Like, I think it's really interesting too, because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, well, they got 3 votes for going. I was like, is that Maria, Tommy, and Jesse? Or is it
somebody else?
Or is it somebody else? Because like, you don't really know where Jesse's at.
Or Tommy.
I feel like Tommy voted probably and I know I listened to the podcast too where Troy was like, maybe he voted no because he knows Joel wouldn't want
Ellie to go,
Ellie in danger, so maybe he would think that way and say no, or maybe he'd just be like, fuck yeah, let's go. So it's very interesting too. I was sitting there thinking about that. I was like, I wonder who voted yes or no. I mean, in the behind the scenes, I forget her name. She's great, but Maria's actress basically said that Craig told her that Maria basically voted yeah, because Maria's actress was like, I don't think she would fall for it. But then Craig was like, no, in my head, like, she's sold. And then she said, well, yeah, knowing that she was like an old prosecutor and Ellie dropping like, like the for justice and for us and everything. It's like, I guess I could see how Maria could be won over. So Maria, I think, actually is maybe one of the votes yes. I would think Tommy probably is too, but Jesse's the one where like I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And that'll
And
be interesting to see too.
I love that. Like you want
You
him to
don't
be,
know.
yeah, but you're like, you understand why he wouldn't vote no, and
Yeah.
now like,
You would understand why everybody would vote yes. You understand why everybody would vote no. So I thought that
yeah,
was really well written too. Because like again, it's a good position to be put in that wasn't there in the game. Like in the game, there wasn't just a huge attack on Jackson. It was a sole single out attack on Joel. He
that was
died.
it.
That's it. Now they have a whole big fucking disaster to think about on top of Joel getting just murdered. So I
Yeah.
think I thought it was a really interesting spin on that too. I thought that was a nice surprise too. And everybody
With
also being like, oh, I'm not the only, like, you're not the only person that lost somebody. Like, I lost my sister. And then, even the shot of Tommy cleaning Joel's body, they pan out and you see all the bodies in that room. Granted, we only give a fuck about Joel, but, like, it's just,
fact.
perspective. Like,
Yeah.
tons of people died. Like, yeah, Joel's is
Yeah.
the most fucked up because it was a murder, where the other ones were, like, I think Neil said in the podcast,
Natural
like a natural
disaster.
disaster, which is crazy. But yeah, where like Joel was just a murder. Like he got murdered. So it is
That was
different.
execution. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can understand, but it's like, yeah, when you have that perspective, it is interesting. It changes the dynamics of that choice a lot. And obviously that's why we have Tommy not randomly going out
Going. Yeah.
and trying to avenge Joel to kind of save Ellie from doing it. Like he's got a lot of responsibilities, like he already did in the game, but now he's got a lot more. And he has a son now too, which we might forget about, but he does.
Yeah. Which then leads off to this great scene in the middle of baseball,
Yeah.
and the actress who plays Maria, Rutina Wesley. I give her a shout out, Rutina
Yeah.
Wesley.
She's doing great.
Yeah. To me, again, we alluded to this, but like, this is the uncle trying to do right by his brother, and knowing who Joel was, and I love that Gail has this nonchalant way of behaving. Yet she cares, but she's not wasting her energy, because even she says like, "Hey man, I'm here for you, but even I need therapy." Like, what the fuck? And like, and Darby's like, "How are you doing it? I'm an alcoholic and I smoke weed." Go figure.
Yeah.
Like,
Catherine O'Hara, man, she's been unbelievable. Like I was interested to see what her role would be. I was interested just because I love her in like Schitt's Creek and stuff, but like seeing her in the show has been phenomenal. Every time she has a scene, I'm excited. Like she's an amazing character. I really enjoy her a lot, and her performance has been phenomenal.
Yeah. But yeah, I love that talk about like, you think she got all that from Joel? It's like, turns out nurture only does this amount. Everything else is nature. Which again, I think it doesn't take away anything. People be like, "Oh, it was Joel's fault." It's like, no. Ellie's an individual. They are meant for each other. They're the perfect pairing, father and daughter. People could say whether that's a good thing or bad thing, but like, no, like, again, I told Sister Drill when I'll never forget it, when she cut up that infected and
I
was
was gonna
like
bring
almost
that
like
up.
titillated by it. I was just like,
Yeah.
I remember being like, this wasn't in the game. What
No.
the fuck are you telling me? I'm like, I didn't know this. I was like, wow.
And on top of that, how bad she always wanted a gun, and then when she had a gun, she's playing with it and stuff. Like, it's stuff like that. 'Cause she wanted a gun in the game, but then, like you said, you don't have that scene of her almost like dissecting a clicker's head in the basement of that random building. So, like,
yeah,
they added a little bit of that little like, no, she's got a dark side. It's just now it's fully unleashed, and where is that gonna go?
yeah. Then it cuts to Ellie prepping already. With the costume from part
Oh
two
man,
already.
loving the
Um,
workbench scenes too.
yeah, the workshop thing with the guns. Yeah, and again, Dina being the AVP of like, where are you gonna go? What route? What's the plan? And then again, even something as simple as like, well, I hope you don't sprain your ankle, because you
Yeah.
need this and this and this and this and this and this. And again, the callback to like, Ellie, I'm gonna kill her with this. That's Joel gun? Good. Save that because it's loud and it's slow. Putting it in the back. She's like, what? You gonna shoot your damn ass off? She's like, well, yeah, I haven't heard that before. And it's just like, oh, that's what season one.
Yeah.
And almost even that, saying of like, thank you. I'm like, you could have just asked. Like, I didn't. I'm like, well, now you know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just those breadcrumbs of like, there's more than meets the eye. This is more than just friendship.
Yeah.
And, she says, I know somebody that can give us all this. And then lo and behold, Seth comes out, and the look on Ellie's face is like, you gotta be kidding me.
Mm-hmm.
Trade. It's a better,
Yeah.
and I was just like, wow. And then, the whole thing, this lady, she's sympathetic to our cause. She's like, our cause? It's like, you're the one that made the speech of us when I didn't do it, it was you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, even when like someone who the last person you think would do will help you, even in receiving help, Ellie can't hold it back. I'm like, oh, must have, yeah, sure, it was friendly fire.
Sure, it was
Tina's
friendly fire.
Tina's like, God damn it, Ellie. And
Jesus Christ.
yeah. And again, something that like it's an image that I'll never forget now, that like it's in some version of this franchise is.
Yeah. Oh man.
I was like, whoa! I was like,
old school Western vibe too. Like,
yeah, man. I'm like, vaya con Dios, and it's just like, poof. Yeah, that happens, and I thought it was just a very. I am really interested to see how the bellies are feeling about this. The belly stands are feeling about that scene, and that says a lot about where we are in society and perspectives and whatnot. And
yeah,
at least I can't speak for the Outbreak World, but every day I keep getting checks of like, wow, really, really are dumbasses. But sometimes you need something like this to like give you some simmer of hope and whatnot.
yeah.
But yeah, what did you think of that scene, man?
I was really surprised that they were just really doing this with Seth. I thought he was just gonna be that one and done, one note character. So when I saw him come out from behind the horse, I was like, "What?" And I was like, "What?" Because when she said like, "No, I know a guy," I thought the same thing. I was like, "Oh, Jesse." But then when she said no, I was like, "Wait, so who the fuck?" I was like, "Tommy?" I was like, "What is it? Tommy? Is that how they're gonna weave him in? Is he gonna like help them go?" I was like, "I don't think so." I was like, "So who the fuck could it be if it's not Tommy?" And then when he popped, I was like, "What?" I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "That's insane." Yeah, I really like that scene a lot. And again, yeah, just being able to surprise players of the game in that way without, having to change anything crazy is great. Like that's a really, really good change where like that's why the show is great. It's like I can still feel like I'm watching The Last of Us and still be surprised along the way. And it's always because it's just good writing. Like it makes sense. It's not like it's out of nowhere. Like they're just setting Seth up to be this complicated kind of guy. Like I don't know. Like he's about just justice and like the way things are, and maybe you don't always agree with the way he thinks, but again, it's that uncomfortable like gray area that he's kind of in, and that's why I was sitting there. I was like, it's like, am I starting to like Seth? I was like, do I almost feel bad for liking Seth? I was like, I don't know what's going on. This is weird. I wasn't expecting this at all. I was like, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the point.
Yeah, that's what they've been trying to do for the part 2 game since that story was created.
Yeah.
And then we get to this scene. We get to Gustavo's guitar.
Oh my god, man!
You get this beautiful Wyoming land. You see Dean over there from afar, paying her respects, crying, and it's just like, no, this moment is just for Ellie. Like, go talk to him. Go visit him one more time. And yeah, this, to me, even in the game, it's different because the graveyard is inside Jackson. But I think it was a nice reasoning. The podcast did it. That like, no, they chose that type because it's a beautiful place, and like that's where the dead should rest, and like they want to make sure that the death isn't in the city. It's out there in the open where the dead should be able to roam. And like, I'm probably paraphrasing, but like it's weird because you revisit this moment in the game, and like Ellie is just like crying, just grabbing dirt, and it's right next to his grave. And this one was almost like, again, for the audience has to play the game, it's a proper goodbye dot dot dot. But it's her probably in terms of Joel's connection in this timeline in this current time. It's the last time they're sharing a moment of like that smile. To me, it was the smile and the second she dropped those coffee beans, because I instantly knew from the game and from last season. Well, you like coffee? Like I instantly knew that, and like I love that. Like that was, and to me, I think they even said that it was Bella's choice of like when she put him in the ground, she touched the ground and the beans there, and I was like, that's the last way she can like touch him and like give him a hug and whatnot, and like I just this is again, man, this is art. These images will stay for me till the day I'm 6 feet in the ground. Like
Absolutely,
man. Like what did you guys think about this scene?
I thought was, man, what was I thinking? I mean, I hate to say it again, but mostly I was just depressed during the scene. It's really well shot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Really like the lighting, really adds to the moment. But it's such a sad scene. I really don't know that I was thinking too much. just emoting.
I get it.
Yeah, that was a heavy scene.
Yeah. What about you, Johnny?
I mean, I kept forgetting to say it throughout the whole discussion, but I think we need to applaud the lighting in this episode. That Jarrell just said too. The lighting throughout the entire episode, I thought was phenomenal. Like,
Yeah.
it's starting in like the fiery orange with like the anger and the pain and everything, and then even the shot of Ellie just walking through the hall in the hospital, like she has like this kind of smile on her face, like, I just fucking got out of that with Gale, and then she keeps walking, gets darker and darker, and her face just drops and drops. And then this too, like I thought the lighting was phenomenal, and the music, the score in this episode was phenomenal. Gustavo, you beautiful, sexy man, I love you. What a fucking guy.
If I'm
But
not mistaken, this is the track they play from the game when Joel decides to like he looks at Ellie and he's like, why did I say that? Like, and then he chooses to like take Ellie and be like, all right, I'll take it at University of Eastern Colorado. The same track of like,
I think
all
it
right,
was.
like I'm not like Tommy's like, what are you doing? He's like, your wife scares me. I don't want her coming after me. And like, how much you want to bet that even the lighting team was like, you know what? Remember that gameplay sequence when the credits start rolling at the beginning of the game where Joel's roaming through the lands above Wyoming? He's like, why don't we just use that same color and lighting and see if we can capture that? And they got
Even that landscape, it has like the same kind of grass and everything too. Like it almost, that's actually a really good pull, Ronan. That's like almost the exact same location it looks like. Because you ride down that hill from that neighborhood to get to Jackson. That's,
Joel wearing the guitar
that's
in
a
the
really
back.
good, that's a really good pull. I didn't even think about that. That is almost the exact kind of location from the beginning of the game. Wow, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think like everybody else, I was fucking bawling my eyes out. I mean, there's no way around it. Like as soon as we got there, I forgot for a second too, which was funny because I remember when Tommy was like, "Oh, like we buried him over here," like, and I was like, before we go to Seattle, it's like, "Oh, that's gonna be like the last shot of the episode." But then all the stuff with Seth and the surf fight and everything, I was like, I kind of forgot about it. So then when we got there, it's like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Bro, I haven't." I was like, "You gave me a little bit where I haven't cried. I'm gonna cry again, dude." I was like, "Fuck you!" And then it just happened, and I was like, "Man, like." It got me in the game, but yeah, man, the coffee beans broke me because I'm showing my girlfriend the show for the first time, and we just watched episode 4, and that's the beginning of the thing where she wakes up in the middle of the morning and he's making the coffee with the whole fucking contraption. Like, what the fuck is that? And it smells like burnt shit, and he's just sitting there like drinking the coffee out of the thermos, like slurping it up. I was like, and then yeah, like in the games and stuff, like. Yeah, when I saw that, I lost it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, not the fucking coffee. I was like, fuck you, Neil. Fuck you, Craig. I'm like, hey, fucking love you guys, but I hate you guys, you evil bastards. I was like,
and I even like the weather, how much like it was also even shadowing like, okay, this is as peaceful as it's gonna get now. And then you're gonna be in pure darkness for a little while. So just hold on tight to that. So we had some comments that, let's see. I wonder if they're showing 5 back of the season, save half of the 5 for season 3. TBD, I think, Cameron. Darren. Hey, Darren. How you doing, Darren? If you want to join, just let me know. and then I'll send you the link so you can give your 2 cents because I know you're watching the show.
Mhm.
Go check out Darren's channel, y'all. He's got the Mazin podcast. We hang out during the Part Nation usually on Tuesday, so that's mañana, and then he's been reacting to The Last of Us, so good on him. But yeah, so we're saying goodbye to Jackson for now and going our way to Seattle. And I like to spend time to like just walk through the seasons, and you see the longevity of like Ellie and Dina traveling to Seattle and see them bonding over music and whatnot. And I don't have the image because I can't find it right now, but I for sure thought, I'm like, wait, are they gonna do it now? Where like, I mean, no pun intended, but like, you know, it was a tent scene, and you know, Dina finally asked, "How would you rate our kiss from that dance?" And it's just like, what? Sorry, at work tonight. It's all good, Darren. We'll get you in before the season ends. We'll get you in the podcast. We'll make that work. Yeah, I for sure thought they were gonna, you know,
get it on in the time.
Like I thought that was it, but I was just like, it made sense. I'm like, no, you keep that rubber band like pulling, and then when the time's right, then you snap it. But like, I know I haven't seen people's reactions yet. I think except for Rejects and the Heroes We Forge guys, but like, I can only imagine people be like, oh, and then people were like, oh, come on. But like, because again, a lot of us are gamers, and we're, you know, we had that moment in the weed scene where Eugene's stash was at. But again, I love that they're still building the foundation of friendship, and how like, you know, what about Jesse? Oh yeah, I went back to Jesse's. Like, well, there you go. And I even love Dina being like, Ellie, I wasn't that high. And it's again her telling her like,
the way she's
I'm
teasing
into
Ellie.
You, girl. Make the move. It's just like, it's like, how, you want to cop a feel? Go for it. Like, I don't know how much more these signals I can send you my way.
Yeah, so the way she's teasing Ellie, the Neil and Craig are like teasing video game players, like, not yet. Like, you're not yet. Wait a little bit.
But I'm loving the dynamics. What do you guys think about that scene and their roaming way to Seattle? What are you guys' thoughts about that? Do you guys think we're getting Seattle too soon? I think that's a valid question.
I don't think so. The way the story's gone, I don't think so.
It has not been one of my complaints, so maybe not. Because Seattle is just so awesome. So I mean, yeah, maybe not. I would have preferred like maybe wait another episode before we saw these other factions, you know, Scars and the Wolves, and just had Seattle. Maybe that would have made things a little bit smoother for me. Because I'll probably get to that later. But yeah, no real issues with Seattle coming up already, which is dope.
Yeah, I really like them showing, like how we saw, you know, like some of the campfires of Joel and Ellie having. I thought they did a really good job of parallels, because same thing. I remember they have a whole montage scene after they leave Jackson to go to the college, like to where they think the Fireflies are held up. You have the whole montage of Joel and Ellie riding on Colorado. The university, that's what it was. Yeah, the whole montage of them like riding there, like Joel teaching Ellie how to shoot and stuff. They did that in the show, and they played. Wow, now I'm thinking about it too. Geez, they played The Path, I think, for that, like the song for that montage. And this episode's called The Path. So then we get The Path at the end of this episode too. So that's kind of crazy. Now I'm thinking about it and putting the pieces together.
Again, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah, it rhymes. Yeah, like I'm telling you, George Lucas is behind this shit, bro. He called Neil. He's like, let me help you out a little bit, buddy. Because I was sitting there and I was like, this is like the montage of Joel and Ellie. So I was like, so you got that with Ellie and Dina, and you get some of the conversations that they have in the game with like, oh, what's the first person you killed, which I like that. And then we were just talking about last episode too, how we potentially lost that Ellie and Dina conversation. So I was happy that we got it back in a way, just a little tweaked a little bit, and that they're kind of, you know, fucking with us a little bit with it, like with the like, are they going to? They're not going to. So I like that. I like that whole sequence a lot. We talked about it a little bit. I love how Seattle looks so far. It looks exactly how it looks in the game.
Scaringly way, like the shots, like, and I'm pretty sure, and I think it was Sam who pointed it out, but like they passed a tree at one point.
Yeah,
and I'm like, is that from the poster? Almost the same tree that they used in the poster where like Ellie's like either like guitaring or like she's hiding from the Seraphites. I was like, what the fuck?
And I feel like I remember like the first. It's going to sound fucking nuts. I might be out of my mind, but I feel like the first car you see when in Seattle is like a part you kind of walk past out of the forest when you first are getting there, like how they are in the game. I was like, that whole highway part, I was like, this is like straight out of the game. It's a part you walk through. It's not even like a set piece. So I was like, the fact that they're that just like, I mean, you already saw it in the first season with the attention to detail, like they killed all the locations, but this season especially, I've just been like, dude, like this is just a part you walk through. It's not even like a set piece because they killed all the set pieces and everything in season 1, but I was like, now we're even getting these little in between pieces that are like, I was like, this is like the attention to detail is amazing. So yeah, I don't think we're in Seattle too quick just because of all the events that have happened already. I think for the pacing it makes sense. I think we did everything we needed to do to start the journey with Ellie and Dina and everything. Now I'm just kind of excited to see where we go from here because it's almost like every section of the game is like its own thing. So it's like we kind of did everything we needed to do in Jackson. Now we've got this is where like the meat and potatoes of the game are. Is like, so now what are we tackling for the rest of the season? Because this is all the meat on the bone. Like, what are we doing here? Like, how are we doing this? We got 4 episodes left in the season. What are we gonna see? What are we not gonna see? Are we gonna cut a lot of stuff out to get to a certain part? Like, what are we gonna do? So that's what I've been saying too. Is like, so far, the changes they've been making and everything, I've actually been preferring it to the game. Where like the changes that they made in season 1, I didn't always like more than the game. Like, I still prefer the game, obviously, to season 1 of the show by a good amount. But, like, so far with this, I'm like, honestly, the story so far has been flowing a little bit better than it did in the game. I'm almost enjoying it more. But now this is the part where it could get a little
funky,
wonky. So I'm excited and a little nervous at the same time because this is the part where it's like, okay, like, we're in it now. What are we doing? What's going to happen? Because we, like Cameron said, we have flashbacks. We have modern times. We have different perspectives. Like, we have a lot in 4 episodes. Like, how far are we going to push the season? Yeah. So that this is like where I get a little nervous, but I have faith. We'll see.
Yeah. And we see Ellie and Dina track that there's some, dead bodies, and, they never seen this insignia before, the Seraphites. And Dina wanders off, and she comes back and throws up. Mm-hmm. Now, as soon as that happened, I went, oh, I know what that means.
Yep.
And I'm like, that ain't about no corpse. And, like, you see her pointed that way, and Ellie goes and looks at the massacre the Seraphites went through. And you see the little girl with her dad. She comes back, and Dina's like, I'm sorry, that never happened before. And I'm like, uh-huh. And, again, you almost see the rage kick in back in Ellie, like, is this what Abby and her people did to kids? Is this what they did? And you see the look on Dina's face, like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have led her to that, because that like fueled her back up again to look for blood and whatnot. And like in some regards, she sees the friend, the person she loves, like fading away, driven by this rage and vengeance and whatnot. Justified in some regards, but like again, it's a fascinating thing where Dina's saying like, oh my gosh, this is a sign of like, I think I'm potentially pregnant, and then like, oh fuck, we're on the road to seek vengeance while this shit is going down, or all about to go down. Fascinating turn of events with that. And again, you see them back on the horse and they're just roaming in, be like, all right, Seattle, let's get it. And they kept saying, it's just the two of us. We can handle a small group and whatnot. And you just hear boom, 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 boom. Tanks roaming into the streets, and then you see this pop up, and you're like, oh, again, for non-gamers, you're like, oh, fuck, is this what we have to deal with? It's like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. And on top of that, too, we also saw Manny up in like a sniper's nest,
and
giving them the go-ahead to proceed on to their base also. So it's like they're there, or at least, he is, so they're probably there. So I thought that was also an interesting shot too, because when they cut to that, I was like, wait, because I recognized that spot too, another little location from the game. I was like, wait,
Mhm.
and then I was like, oh, it's this fucker. Even though I don't hate even though I don't hate show man, I'm carrying my hate for Manny from the game onto the show, which is unfair because he's not as bad as game Manny. But I was like, is this
Yeah.
fucker?
Yeah,
Yeah.
even you know it's weird. Like my rage with that dude, you know, with that paisano, with fucking
Oh,
goddamn it,
God.
damn
I
it,
see
Neil.
red.
It was
Yeah.
it was when he kicked Ellie. I was like, fuck you, man. It's just like you
Yeah.
didn't have to puncture her lungs out like that or
Yeah.
her breath.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know that fool just like you know, again, you know, Juro was mentioning, you know, fucking Walking Dead out as soon as I saw him, I was like, little pig, let me in. Come get some. And but yeah, folks, the wolf are here, and it ain't no small militia. It is an army, and you've just seen the tip of the iceberg, and there's gonna be more to come. If you've seen, you know, tune in on the next week of The Last of Us, which I don't recommend for non gamers because they're revealing a lot of stuff. But if you're a gamer, it's the Rick Dalton syndrome. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, ooh, I know what that is. I know what that implies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I even said it in our reaction and our review that like, this was a necessary slower episode.
Yeah.
Not a bad one. I think I ranked it B plus over the first two episodes were more A for me. But like, I was like, this was necessary pacing wise because this is as peaceful in this current time line as it's gonna be, and you need that slowness because as soon as that first day of Seattle kicks in, it's just like
Go.
nonstop. Every second's gonna matter. Every choice is gonna matter. Every turn of the corner is gonna matter, and everything you're gonna go after or don't go after is gonna be an impactful thing. But I dug the episode. I thought that like it would have been nice to spend more time mourning, but for where we are, what the story was built upon, the foundation. Ellie wants blood. They want justice, or so they say. I want vengeance, and this is where it leads up to. So yeah, just to finish out and close out our thoughts on this episode. Was there anything that we left out? Anything that you liked in specific more, or something you want to see in the next episode? What are you guys' concluding thoughts? Let's start with Johnny.
I mean, just to kind of wrap up the like last couple scenes, like when we got the payoff of the Seraphites here at the end, I thought it made that little cut to it in the middle of the episode more worth it and make more sense because I think it's important because it just shows Ellie and Dina like, you know, maybe maybe we're out of our league a little bit. Like we thought we were gonna go deal with a small little group, but like they took out this whole group of people, including children, without remorse or hesitation. Like they're fucking lit up. Like their bodies are like they all got shot like fucking 5 times. It looks like at least like they were lit up. So I think it was a really good payoff to that. Where like I was wondering why we were doing that at the beginning of the episode. At the end, I was like, you know what? That's actually really smart. And I like that Dina moment of her throwing up. I thought that was like a nice way of including that too. So I actually really like the payoff for the Seraphite interruption like in the middle of the episode. I thought it made it a little bit worth it. It made it work, at least for me. And then, yeah, like I said, seeing Manny and seeing the scale of the WLF, I think is really important for people that haven't played the games. Just be like, oh, like they're in a lot, like they're in some deep shit and they don't know it yet. Like they're gonna find out. Like they're in over their heads a little bit. So I thought that was a really strong way to end out the episode. And yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was a really great episode. I mean, so far, I've loved every episode of the season so far. I like the structure so far where it's almost like you have a build up, explosion, build up. Next episode looks like it's going to be an explosion. But I think honestly from here on out, we're just going to be nonstop explosions. Like, I don't think we're going to have any real like build up episodes anymore. Cause yeah, once, like you said, once we get to Seattle, that's pretty much it. There's slower moments in Seattle, but everything is very calculated and tense. So, I mean, I I like the structure so far. I think we're obviously we're getting into it now. Um, and yeah, I'm really excited for next week. I thought it was a really great episode overall. And again, I love that the music choice for the credits was like an electric guitar version of The Path. I thought that was a nice little Easter egg, and I like how we're synchronizing the episode titles with like songs from the games and shows. I'm really liking that so far too.
Yeah.
Yeah, another great episode. I'm loving it so far. To me, it's been pretty much flawless in my opinion. Like I could have little nitpicks here and there of stuff like I said, like the pictures maybe on Joel's dresser or something, but nothing where I'm like, well, that was a questionable choice. Everything so far has really worked for me, and I'm very pleasantly surprised so far of how much I've been loving it. And also, my emotions need a break. Like I need a breather, man. I forgot.
Yeah.
I don't know how I forgot how traumatizing part two is, but reliving it in a different way has really been like, yeah, wow,
Unique experience.
very.
Jarrell?
Yeah, it's good to great. I keep going back and forth for this specific episode. But I mean the ending with the wolves sort of walking through a kind of forest overridden city, like apocalyptic style at the end looked like something straight out of the game for sure. So and in general, the cliffhangers have been pretty strong for I think all the episodes, to be honest. But so yeah, it was good to great.
Nice. Yeah, I'm dying one day to interview Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann. I'll be like, okay, we have a lot of questions. Let's talk about structure. How the hell did it took you long to like land on what elements of the story we were gonna start, go, and then conclude for at each episode, and then for the whole season? Because again, you go back and watch my reaction to episode one with the group, I was freaking out, not just at the details and the stuff that I recognized from the game, but I was just like, this is stuff is happening the way I'm not used to, and it's kind of genius, and yet kind of putting me keeping my feet on my toes. Like, what are we doing? And yet, awesome. I'm dying to ask him one day about that. I want to ask him about the structure and like how long it took
Absolutely.
him in the process of doing that. Not just them too. Also, Hallie Gross, who co-wrote part two, and seeing how she absorbed season two writing and being part of the writing staff because it's them three. And again, shout out to the directors who've been part of this, because it's as again, someone who still makes some part two, it's a feat to tackle this story, these character arcs, and the tone and the journey you're gonna have to take these characters and the audience into, especially the new audience who don't know what they're getting themselves into. I keep telling everybody, you're in for it. You're in for it. You know, you want it. You wish you had more infected. You're gonna get them. You wish you wanted more action. You're gonna get it. That's all I'll say about that perspective. That's going to wrap it up for our session this week of Bottles and Bricks, a Last of Us podcast. Johnny, Jarrell, thank you so much for joining me. I am loving that. Like each week, we get to spend time and just either dissect, catch something, in a structure, synthetic way, debate something of like, no, I think this feels more like the game. No, this feels like the show. This can exist or this can exist. I think we're really giving people, an alternative look of conversations involving this franchise. And all I wish is that more other creators, fans can join us and see that, hey, let's hear your 2 cents, where you come from with this franchise and how do you take in this part 2 storyline. But I want you to all shout out your channel and tell people where they can find you. Let's start with Jarrell.
It is as just like it is on the screen here. That's my main YouTube channel. That's where you can find all my content.
Nice. Gianni?
Same thing, Johnny Bravo 6 on YouTube and Twitch. I'm usually on Twitch more than YouTube nowadays, but I'll maybe be on YouTube back eventually soon. Just have crazy scheduling and stuff. But yeah, I usually stream on Twitch on Giant Bravo 6.
Yeah, me and Jarrell have been waiting to see how these weeks would go with the dynamics of this story, and so I'm glad that he's part of it. Shout out to Gianni. I know he usually does his Music Monday streams on his Twitch channel, and I figured that like for this one we gotta like lean into it and then go back to Music Monday because this
Absolutely.
season
I had to
is
lock
a
in.
lot. Is a lot to get into. Yeah.
Mhm.
Before we go, Cameron Walker says one aspect I didn't like in the game is that Abby friends were bringing Abby down to being likable. Huh. That is a fascinating intrigue because in the show, they're showing how a lot of them were not cool with what went down with Joel. At least that's what I took away from those perspectives of like Nora, especially Owen and Mel. I think Manny was the one who was like, yeah, fucking, hit him with the fucking club, which fuck that puto. But yeah, folks, please stay tuned to the channel. Share the enthusiasm, like it, recommend it to folks. If you're a Last of Us fan, you're gonna want to hang out with us each week, dropping reactions. I'm trying to make my way through also TikTok videos, just to spread the word out. And again, if you know another content creator who's a big Last of Us fan and they have 2 cents worth, let them know, and maybe I can get in contact with them and look them up, check them out, and if everything looks and seems right, I'll happily have them on. There's plenty of room, and again, I want to see if we can start getting more people from Brazil, like our friend Elise, or people in Japan, or people and seeing how they took this franchise and what you think they would do if they were in the Outbreak World, which we kind of barely survived a version of that. But yeah. Thank you so much to everybody. Johnny, Jarrell, endure and survive, my friends. And to everybody, to the edge of the universe and back. Endure and survive. Take care, everybody.